In this lecture, let us talk about log-based recovery techniques. To understand it better, first we need to talk about logs, how to write a log record, and what are its advantages. Whenever a transaction initiates its action, first it has to write a record of TI start, that it has initiated its action. It's an indication that it has initiated its action. And for every instruction of the transaction, it has to create a log record. Suppose it wants to read a database object TI, the transaction is reading the database object A, and what is the value that is reading. So that has to be created, a log record is created with that information. And suppose if a TI wants to modify something or write something, then TI is writing the database object A of A, and what is the current value and what is a modified value that has to be indicated. Such kind of log records are to be created. Similarly, whenever the transaction ends, TI end, and whenever it aborts, TI abort. All such kind of actions are to be recorded in the form of a log, so that these log records are stored somewhere and they can be used whenever there is a crash. We can use that log record information to get back to the situation where it was when at the time of crash. And the second issue is how these log records are to be written, first thing. Second one is where they have to be stored and when they have to be stored. Where they have to be stored. The log records are to be stored in a permanent memory, so that even if there is a crash at one location, we should be able to recover only if these log records are available. So these log records are to be stored on the permanent storage or stable storage. And the third thing is when these log records are to be written. There are two techniques are there. One is a deferred mode, one is a immediate mode. In the deferred mode, we wait until the transaction commits, and at the time of committing, we transfer all the log records onto a stable storage. That is one way. And another one is as and when the transaction do something, it immediately transfers the contents of the log records onto the stable storage, then modify the database object even before the transaction commits. That is immediate database modification method. Each one of them have their own advantages and disadvantages. In the deferred mode, there is an overhead. Until the transaction commits, nothing is done. But at the time of committing, we need to transfer all the log records. That is, there's a lot of overheads are there in input-output operations onto the stable storage. Whereas in the immediate modification method, the overheads are not there, but there is a chance of the transaction being aborted. So if there is a transaction has aborted, but by the time it has written some log records, we have to undo them, right? So all these things are possible, but in this case we talk about only immediate modification methods. To understand it better, let us talk about an example here, which consists of log records created by two transactions, T0 and T1. If you observe that T0 has modified two database objects A and B from 100 to 900 and 2000 to 3050, and it has T0 has committed also. Commit log record is also created. And T1 is another transaction. It has modified the database object value C from 700 to 800, and T1 has been committed. And when these write operations are being performed, when T0 has modified the values of A and B are written, and T0 has been committed, and C is modified by T1, C is written. And if you go to the third column, output column, you can observe that BC indicates the blocks containing the database objects B and C. They are transferred onto the stable storage at that point of time. But if you carefully observe that BC is the block containing C, but C is modified by T1, but by that time T1 has not committed. So there is something kind of immediate modification technique. Whereas BB, the database object B is already modified by T0, and T0 has already committed by that time. So it is after committing the actions, it has been transferred. Similarly, BA is also transferred only after T0 has been committed. So two types of aspects are depicted here, but we can follow any one of the methods. Few important things that we need to consider here, that in the previous slides we talked about stable storage, main memory and buffer, and we observed that every transaction is maintaining a local copy of the data objects that it wants to operate on. and data is being transferred from main memory to the stable storage and stable storage to the main memory. Here we treat the database is modified only when the local copies of the transaction are updated on the stable storage, but we don't treat the modification as being done when the local copies are updated. We don't treat it as modification, but only we treat the modification is being done only when we transfer the data blocks from main memory to the stable storage. Not only that, whenever the transaction commits, first it has to transfer. By the time it should have transferred all the log records onto the stable storage, and TI commit operation is, log is created. Then only we treat the transaction is said to have been committed. Now, once we understand the log records, how they are being created and how they are being transferred onto the stable storage, the next step is how do we use them when there is a crash. When the database is running and suddenly if there is a crash, several transactions may be operating at several stages. Some of the transactions might have already committed by the time and have ended. Some of the transactions might be in processing stage or active stage. Some of them are in the already aborted, something like that. So several transactions are at several stages. Now to recover them back, sometimes we need to undo the actions, some of the actions, and we need to redo the actions. And how do we do them? Based on the log records that we have already created. Suppose if we take an undo case, if you want to undo a log record, already a log record is already written under a stable storage in the form of a Ti, X, V1, V2, indicating that the transaction T has modified the database object X, and the current old value is V1 and the new value is V2. Suppose if I want to undo that, what I need to do is, already V2 is modified. V2 is the new value that is there in the database, but I need to undo that. That means I have to restore the value of the database object X to the old value V1. That's what I need to in case of undo. Again, if I want to redo a particular log record, again it's the same thing in the reverse. Ti is operating on the database object X, and the old value is V1, new value is V2. That has to be redone, because if it is the new value is not there, I have to redo it. That means V1 has to be replaced with V2. And while redoing and undoing, we have certain aspects that need to be considered. In case of undo, it restores all the previous values, whereas in case of redo, it recreates whatever has happened. That's what we need to understand. We need to understand when the transaction has to be redone and when it has to be undone. Suppose a transaction has a record of TI start, but do not contain either TI commit or TI abort. It means the transaction has initiated its actions, but it has not terminated its actions. So in this case, we don't know what the transaction is going to do next. That's why we need to undo the actions done so far. Whereas if the transaction TI start is there and TI commit or TI abort is there, then we need to redo the actions. You may wonder if TI abort is there, then why do we need to redo it? But the TI abort, we don't know whether it is because of the regular action or because of the actions done by the recovery algorithm. So that's why maybe it is written during the TI undo actions of earlier transactions or earlier recovery processes. So that is why we need to redo the actions of TI abort also, if it consists of. Now let us try to understand the log records and actions to be done. Let us consider an example of 3 log records at different instances of time. In the first instance, the log record consists of only one transaction T0, and 2 actions are there. T0 has modified the values of A and B from 1000 to 950, 2000 to 2050. T0 has started, but it has not committed, not aborted. That means we have to undo the actions of T0. That means we have to restore the values of A and B to 1000 and 2000 respectively. Once we undo the actions, we need to write a abort log record for T0 in the recovery process. When it comes to the second instance, where T0 start is there, T0 commit is also there, and it has modified 2 values of A and B. And T1 for the transaction T1 start is there, only one modification is there for C, but T1 has not committed or T1 has not aborted. That means we have to redo the actions of T0 because it has committed, and we have to undo the actions of T1 because it has started but not committed or aborted. So we have to get back the value of C to 700 again, and write a log record of T1 apart. And when it comes to the third instance, T0 has started, it has done some actions, T0 has committed, T1 has started, it has done some actions, T1 has committed. So both the transactions have initiated and have committed as well. So we need to redo both the actions of the transactions T0 and T0, and we can restore the database where it was when at the time of crash. That is how we can understand the three instances. So in the last slides, we have observed that how to do the redo and undo of the actions of the transactions at the time of crash, if there is a crash. So based on the log records, we have seen we can undo and redo the actions. Now the point is, if there is a crash, starting from the log record, that is the latest log record, to which log record we have to proceed and scan the actions on the database. If you go back to the starting of the log records, it's a waste of time and waste of energy, because already we have done something and it is already transferred to the stable storage, and we may be unnecessarily redoing all those things. So there should be a mechanism to identify up to which point the database is perfect and up to which point we need to redo or undo the actions of the transactions. So to do that, we need to create a checkpoint. So if we create a checkpoint, before the checkpoint everything should be perfect. Even if there is a crash after the checkpoint, we can redo the actions of the transactions until that checkpointing. So that's the concept of checkpoint, and let us try to understand how it works. In this checkpointing, first what we do is we'll output, when we start the checkpointing, first we'll output all the log records present at the time in the main memory to a stable storage first. So whatever log records that are being implemented after the previous checkpoint and before this checkpoint, so whatever they are residing on the main memory, if they are already transferred to the permanent memory, no issue. If they are residing on the main memory, first they need to be transferred onto the stable storage first. Once we do that, output all modified buffer blocks that are available in the main memory again to the disk. So whatever modified buffer blocks are there, they have to be transferred onto the disk. And after that, write a log record. You have to create a new log record of L checkpointing, where L stands for the list of transactions that are active at the time of crash. So whatever transactions that are active at this point of time of creating the checkpoint, you note down all the transactions and create one more log record of L checkpoint, L consisting of all the transactions that are active at the time of crash, because these are the transactions which are to be taken care if there is a crash for the further action. So, and during this checkpointing, we'll stop all the updates on the database, and once these checkpointing activities are over, then we'll restart the database actions. The advantage of checkpointing is that once there is a crash, we can scan the log records from the latest one to the checkpointing log record, because until such time the database is in a perfect state. We need not worry about the log records which are earlier to the latest checkpoint. Now let us see how this checkpointing is useful in the crash recovery process. Here consider an example where checkpointing is done at one instance of time, and after that during the process there is a failure. System failure is also there. And if you look at the example, 4 transactions are involved in the entire process, and T1 has been completed even before the checkpointing is done, so that is perfect with respect to the database. And T2, T3, T4, they are the transactions which are active at the time of crash, so we need to concentrate only on those 3 transactions. If you scan backward from the failure, from the occurrence of failure, if you scan all the log records, we will come across the log records of T4, T3 and T2 in that order. If you look at T4, it has initiated, but it has not aborted, it has not committed. So we need to undo the actions of T4. And when it comes to T3, it has initiated and it has been committed also. So we need to committed or aborted, in the sense, whatever it is. We need to redo the actions of T3. And when it comes to T2, T2 has initiated even before the this checkpointing is initiated. So we need to scan backward until the start record of T2 and keep on doing the undoing and redoing actions. Since if T2 has committed, then we have to redo all the actions of T2 because it has committed. If even it is aborted, we have to redo the actions of T2. That is how the log records after the checkpointing are useful. Now let us try to observe how this logging is useful even in the normal running of the database during the rollbacks. Logging is done during the normal operations of the transactions. TA start is written when it starts, and all updates are written, and the TA commit has been written. There is no issue. But if there is a rollback, that means if TA has to be rolled back, then starting from the end log record, I have to scan backward until I reach TA start. And for each of the update log record, I have to undo the update log record. And while undoing, I have to create one more record, that is TIXJV1. That means for the database object XJ, by the transaction TI, the value V1 is reverted back or undone. That is how log record is written while undoing the actions also. That is called compensation log records. Once TA start is found, you can stop the actions of rolling back. So these log records are useful even for the rollback of the transactions. So far we have seen the bits and pieces of the recovery process, and we have tried to understand all the intricacies that goes into the recovery process. Now, putting it all together in a single nutshell form, we can discuss in the form of a recovery algorithm. This recovery process typically consists of two phases. One is a redo phase and another is a undo phase. That is how we can divide it into two phases. And in the redo phase, what do is we'll start from the checkpoint log record. We'll start from the checkpoint log record and scan forward all the log records. Whenever there is an update log record that means TI, XJ, V1, V2, then just redo that action. That means V1 is updated to V2. Or if there is a compensation log record of TI, XJ, V1, again just redo that, whatever actions that are there. If there is a TI start log record is found, add this TI to the to undo list. You create a to undo list and you add that TI to the to undo list. That means there is a possible transaction which may be needed to be undone if that is not committed or aborted. So we'll create a to undo list and we'll add the TI to undo list. So in this process, keep on scanning all the log records, and once you come across TI commit for a particular transaction, if you come across TI commit or TI abort, then you remove that corresponding transaction from the to undo list. So you can remove that from the to undo list. If you do not find any of the commit or abort log record, to undo list will take care of that in the next step, right? So that has to be updated continuously while in the reading process itself. But for whatever updates and compensation based on regular records and compensation log records, all the redo actions are to be redone. This is phase 1. When it comes to the undo phase, the scanning starts from the end of the log and scans backwards. And whenever it encounters an action of the transaction TI with the log of TI, XJ, V1, V2, it undoes the action and reverts back the value of XJ to V1. Again, in this process, a compensation log record is written with TI, XJ, V1. And so this process continues until TI start is found. If TI start is found, then immediately TI abort record is written. That means all the actions of TI, where TI is in the undo list, are undone, and we have reached a stage where all the actions of TI are nullified. So that TI now can be removed from the undo list. So this process continues until the to undo list is empty. And once the undo list is over, undo actions are over, then the normal processing can start. Now let us try to understand the recovery process through an example and a sample log record. Here let us consider a sample record consisting of T0 transactions T0, T1 and T2. T0 has started and T0 has done as an update, then T1 started, there is a checkpointing is done at that point of time, and T0 and T1 are the active transactions at the point of checkpointing. T1 has again done some update. After the T1 has committed, T2 start and T2 has done an update. There is a compensation log record by T0 and then T0 abort. At that point of time there is a crash. So if we analyze the transactions, the transaction and the log records of the transactions from the checkpointing. So as per the algorithmic process, first we encounter T1 C 700 and 600. This is an update log record. So this has to be redone. And then T1 commit is there. Again it has to be redone. And then T2 start. Once T2 start is encountered after the checkpointing, the T2 has to be added to the to undo list. So we'll add T2 into the to undo list. Then T2 A 500 and 400 is there. So that means actions of T2 are to be in the undo list. And then T0 B 200, there's a compensation log record. That means whatever actions, whatever the current value of B, but we have to revert it back to the 2000 rather. T0 on T0 we will perform a compensation log record. The value of B is reverted back to 2000 because of this, that is to be redone, and T0 abort. Again T0 has to be aborted. So again it's a redo phase. Once this is over, then starts the undo phase. In the undo phase, starting from the end of the log in the undo phase, T2A 500 and 400, that is a update, is done in the normal course of action. Now we have to undo it. That means we have to revert back the value of A to 500. To do this, we will write a compensation log record T2 A 500, that is what is written there, and before that T2 start is there. So since in the to undo list T2 is the only transaction available and we have reached a start stage, start log record, so we will write T2 abort log record, and the to undo list is empty now. So there stops the process. That is how we can process the algorithm.